Hey Alex, your hot pockets.
Oh, wait, oh, wait.
Whoa, dude, what are you doing, bro?
Nothing.
Dude, what is this? Is that Palpatine?
No.
You're insane.
No. Don't.
I
No. I'm sorry.
I gotta go. This is weird, man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Now made by Disney, or Lucasfilm, whichever way you slice it. Legends. Today, I have for you episode 10 of Star Wars. My episode 10. We'll call episode 11 Dark Empire 2 and 3. With Lightsider being a little mini-sode in the middle there. Like a 10.5. But we'll get to that in the next video. But before I talk about the comic, which I don't have any I didn't really take any notes or anything. But I think I forgot to mention this in the previous video about Boba Fett. But there is Boba Fett, Agents of Doom by John Ostrander, but still drawn by Cam Kennedy. I loved it. It was so much better than the previous one-shots with Boba Fett. Man, I was really hyped up for those Boba Fett comics because Quality Autism and stuff spoke highly about it, and I'm like, maybe it's just because I'm not a Boba Fett fan or not into that archetype, but I didn't feel it, man. I don't know. This one, though, I actually really enjoyed. That's maybe because I think John Ostrander is a really good writer. But it looked more modern, but still had that Cam Kennedy look. And I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was the best one of the bunch, and definitely recommend Boba Fett Agents of Doom. You can get it for $1.99 on Kindle, or just look it up online elsewhere. And then, very important, this short story really only exists to kind of fix some contradictions in Dark Empire, which I thought was just incredible. In Adventure Journal number 7, there is a short story called Retreat from Coruscant. As we know, by the time of the Thrawn trilogy, which takes place 2 years prior to Dark Empire, the New Republic is fully in control of Coruscant at that point. They are the de facto ones in charge of Coruscant now. That's not a question. Back during the X-Wing books is when Coruscant got reclaimed. So why is Coruscant this wasteland, or not wasteland, but this war zone now at the start of Dark Empire? Because it kind of just starts in on the action. We don't really get to see how all that kind of begins. And so this short story kind of shows how, yeah, the New Republic was in control of Coruscant. The Empire kind of just started showing up again with, well, Palpatine's secret empire, and, made a bunch of people evacuate. That being said, for a character I don't think we ever see again, I really enjoy the pilot of the ship, or the captain of the ship. She was really cool, and she's just like an average day Joe. And so, for a short story, I really enjoyed her character. I thought the story was fairly good too, and we get some nice little cameos too from Garmbel Obis, and Mara Jade even makes an appearance here. So, as to why she's not around during Dark Empire, well, wait for Hand of Thrawn to just kind of throw that aside as to why she's not around, but whatever. And by Hand of Thrawn, I don't mean the fan fiction writer. I mean the actual duology, Hand of Thrawn, which just barely addresses it. But anyway, it's the basic gist is that it's a way to explain, oh, that's why the New Republic is in control of Coruscant at the start of Dark Empire. But then, of course, we get to Dark Empire, the first one, not 2 or 3, by Tom Veitch and drawn by Cam Kennedy. I mean, I feel like a lot of people know this story. I just want to talk about the artwork. Now, the artwork is going to either make it or break it for you. I personally love the art. I think Cam Kennedy is an incredible artist. He's so unique. Every time you see Cam Kennedy, you're like, that is Cam Kennedy. There's not a doubt in your mind. And the coloring can be a bit weird at times, but at the same time, I kind of love how unique and stylistic it is. It kind of reminds me of, for those of you who have seen the Daredevil Netflix show, there's, just like in a comic book, there's a lot of these panels through windows and stuff where looks all yellow or looks all red, because of the streetlights or whatever. But it creates this dynamic where the entire room, by virtue of having that window, looks all yellow or looks all red or whatever. And it's something about that that just kind of makes it splash. That kind of makes it, I don't know, just it's something about it I love. And say what you will about Dark Empire's coloring, but it's so unique, and you really feel like a sort of atmosphere from it. And I don't know, I vibe with it a lot. But remember, guys, before I even get into this, look, every freaking person, before I even became an EU fan, every person pointed to this comic as the reason why the EU sucks. I just want you to remember that. Palpatine coming back is stupid. Your Legends timeline, your expanded universe is retarded because Palpatine came back. They're not making that argument anymore. Gee, I wonder why. And it's stupid regardless, because this story is incredible. I'm sorry if you don't agree. You're wrong. Case closed. End of discussion. This is a great story. I'm not the biggest fan of Palpatine coming back in general, but if you're gonna do it, this is the way you do it, not whatever the hell that other thing was. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to get negative, but like, what the hell was that? Nah, they didn't give you an explanation. This here feels like Star Wars. You read this comic book, you are back in Star Wars, baby. It is so good. Everything about it, just rings so true. With, you know, Luke's characterization is on point. Freaking Leia and Han are on point. Han's ex looks a little weird, but she just has a big forehead. That's okay. But everything, like, the only thing I don't like is how you're kind of just like thrust into this war. But that's just like how the movies would start. You're just like episode 4, oh, war. Episode 1, well, I guess it was just peace talks, but negotiations. But regardless, you're just kind of like thrust into a story. And this exactly what this does. And it's something about it, it's so good. And Palpatine returning itself is, I don't necessarily like it, but at the same time it makes sense. This is Palpatine we're talking about. His master was Darth Plagueis. Like, if we're taking the entire expanded universe into account, one of Darth Plagueis' main goals was learning how to live forever. And even still, what Palpatine does here is not the perfect way of going about it. Because Emperor Vitiate, back during the days of SWTOR, already figured out how to do this perfectly. And what's ironic is that once he figured out how to do that, he kind of stopped caring about the Sith too. He kind of did his own thing. Because he's like, well, I'm living forever now. I achieved my goal. And now I realize that the Jedi and Sith are both kind of retarded. I'm going to do my own thing. As long as I get to stay in power. But, and if you're taking the entire expanded universe into account, this has so much continuity. Because what Palpatine is doing is exactly what Darth Bane back in the Drew Karpyshyn novels was learning to do. Essence transfer, essentially. Palpatine just keeps essence transferring himself into different clone bodies. Right? And this will be super important down the line for him too, because at this point he's in control still, right? He's his master plan, all that. He's ready to go. But by the end of this comic, 6 issues, Luke destroys all the clone bodies except for that last one. Which means by Dark Empire 2, he's going to be really desperate because he's on his last clone body, So, and everything with Luke too, and this is a defining story for the rest of his arc. This will affect him in New Jedi Order. It will affect him in the Jedi Academy trilogy. It will affect him in Legacy of the Force. This is a constant thing that affects his decisions moving forward forever. Because he tried to play double agent. He tried to destroy Palpatine from the inside by lying, by joining his side. What I also love about that is that Palpatine knew from the get-go that he hadn't actually turned. He knows the difference. He saw Anakin cave. He saw Anakin succumb, be seduced by the dark side. He could tell clearly that Luke hadn't been seduced. He just didn't care. He's like, you'll be around me long enough. You'll be in this long enough. Eventually it's going to start trickling in. And that it does. You know, he even tries to fight Palpatine, he loses. You know, and then he does succumb for a time. And it's his sister who saves him. And Leia, I forgot how Leia actually gets to throw down a few times in this book, in this comic book. It's freaking awesome, dude. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is one of the few times we get to see Leia do anything. When's the next time we're gonna see this? She's gonna fight a Hutt. Oh, gee wee, so cool. And then we won't get her being that cool again till Dark Nest. Dark Nest. It's like 40 years later or 35 years later or something. Like that long. That long for her to actually be cool. Ridiculous. Um, and you could just like when Palpatine talks to you, you could just hear Ian McDiarmid in those lines, and it's great. And then all the stuff you're kind of trickling in here. I think it shows up more in the second Dark Empire book, but like all that stuff you're getting with with the ancient Jedi and stuff, and this Vima's Sunrider's here, and she's more talked about in the Old Republic and the Tales of the Jedi stuff. It is one of the things I would have loved to see since KOTOR ended up being Bastila instead of Ema. I would love, like a comic book series focused on her growing up. If I'm thinking about the right person, right? She's a little girl from Redemption, fairly certain. Regardless, I want more stories with the Sunriders because there's so much potential there. We're missing a whole lot of stuff there. So, EU ever gets continued, more Sunrider stuff, please. Um, and the World Devastators, another super weapon. It's not even as powerful as, I mean, they make it seem like it's a bit more powerful than the Death Star, but it clearly can't be because it has to be in the Earth. It has to be in the planet's atmosphere to actually cause damage. It can't just like blow it up like the Death Star can from far away. So, but it is a very destructive thing. It's a very dangerous thing. Um, so there's that. And of course, Leia's pregnant with Anakin Solo. We don't have a name for him yet, but that's who it is. And even by this story, Palpatine wants to transfer his essence into the child. Um, so, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to say too much. I mean, it's only a 6-issue comic, but it's absolutely incredible. It's such a good issue, man. It's so much fun to read about. It's such a delight. Like seriously, it's so good, man. It's so 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 good. And I highly, highly, highly recommend it. If you are a fan of Star Wars, you need to read this. I do recommend reading it after the Thrawn trilogy, but it is solid. And especially if you're going to read like the Jedi Academy trilogy by Kevin J. Anderson, it's going to reference this story, so you should definitely check it out. And like I said, Luke comes very close to the dark side here. He is actually of the dark side for a time. And that scares him moving forward. It affects his decisions, for better or worse. It affects him because he doesn't want to become his father. And he doesn't want to create other Vaders. So it affects his decisions moving forward as a leader, as a teacher. What I also love is that part of the reason he even did it in the first place was he wanted to know what had made his father succumb. He wanted to understand his father better. And I thought that was great. But there's so much praise about this comic. Of course, this is also the comic where our heroes learn that Boba Fett did not die, which you could have learned easily from Tales from Jabba's Palace. I mean, I don't think Tales from Jabba's Palace was out yet when this came out, but just saying, you definitely don't need bounty hunter wars to enjoy that. Not at all. Anyway, up next is going to be a very special one. This is why I waited to actually read it. Lightsider has been released. It's officially out. People can read it now. Of course, Christopher Nelson and Matt Wilkins have had it for like forever. So, but I didn't want to read it. I was very excited. It was new EU. I was gonna grab it and eat it right then and there. But I thought it was better to wait. Let's actually read Dark Empire again. So I'm going to Lightsider blind. The only things I know about it are for what I auditioned for a fan audio drama that will be coming out probably sometime 2023, possibly. I don't know the details on that. I just know I'm going to do a voice in there. But other than the stuff that I read about, I don't know too much about the story. So I'm very interested to see what happens. I might even do my own readings of certain sections for the internet, because why not? Because my friend Marcel, he's great. He's fantastic. Revanchist on YouTube, go check him out. The Revanchist. He's got a channel where he reads short stories on the of all the expanding universe. But he's got the role I'll make sure to leave a link in the description at some point in the future, whenever that comes out. But he's gonna be playing Cam Solusar. Now I also auditioned for that role, but I'm a bit younger, so. Um, but I might do my own scene version of that on YouTube sometime, just because why not? But yeah, so look forward to my thoughts on Lightsider short story, which takes place in between Dark Empire 1 and 2, and then join me again when we discuss Dark Empire 2 and 3 in one video. Until next time, guys, may the force be with you, and remember, Naked Palpatine, memes abound. Hope you enjoyed that intro, by the way. I have a special outro too, so it might look the same, but make sure to stick by and watch it. It's going to be my intro for the rest of these two reviews, Lightsider and Dark Empire 2 and 3, so make sure to check that out. Um, that'll be my intro for the next two videos, so enjoy that. Till next time, guys, I'll see you.